Hi and welcome to SportsHeads. As you know, we lost our dear friend, our guiding light and our mentor, Kevin Cadle, at the weekend. He was 62 years old. The emotions are still very, very raw. There's been a lot of soul searching, a lot of heartache and a few tears. But the overriding feeling is one of loss, sorrow, but also laughter. Kevin was full of positivity, and that's the way we wish to remember him. As far as the Sports Head goes, we owe it to Kevin to carry on. We'd like to carry on his good work. It was his show, his idea, and it was all about the people involved in it. And I'm pleased to say that we've got two legends of the NFL, two cornerstones of NFL broadcasting with us today, two of the three, if I may say so. And one of them is Nick Hulling, who was with Sky for the best part of 20 years.
Yeah, on and off, yeah. Did 15 years of NFL and then a bit of boxing after that. Yeah.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have him back. And also the other cornerstone, Mike Carlson, another legend. Welcome.
Yeah, well, Kevin and I did, I guess it was about 10, 12 seasons of NFL Europe, World League of American Football, and and occasional NFL things. And we did basketball together for a couple of years as well.
We were brought together, obviously, at a ridiculously sad time. Kevin's going to be incredibly missed. And like I say, there have been a lot of tears, a lot of heartaches. But we just wanted to get a few of the guys' views of Kevin. They've worked with him for a very long time, more so than I have. Nick, you worked with Kevin for a very long time. From my point of view, it was all about his positivity and his generosity.
That was a word I used actually to talk about Kev, because generosity was it. I genuinely have nothing but good things to say about Kev, and that's nothing to do. Normally somebody dies and it's sad and it's tragic, and everybody just accentuates the positives about their life. There are no negatives for me with Kev. He was a totally genuine, totally humble, incredibly positive guy around whom you could not be down. I mean, Mike and I are quite similar in personalities in a lot of ways. We'll get down and grumpy and cranky and miserable once in a while. We will. Yeah. But with Kev around, you couldn't. No. You actually physically couldn't, because he would just drag you back up. You just go with it. He without an ego, he would somehow dominate, light up a room and make everybody feel good. The first time my wife met him, he just went up, gave her a big hug, said, "How you doing, man?" And she loved him from that moment. And my wife's a bit like me. You just take your time to get to know someone. Kev, it was instant. You loved the guy. You just loved him.
Absolutely. Kev got my job at Sky at one point, which was hosting the NFL. Nick was my guest, and just before I found out, Kev and I had lunch, and Kev had stopped coaching basketball. He was going to go full-time in media, and we were basically talking about what he could do, and things, avenues that would be open to him, and getting my advice, as it were. And he, of course, knew that he was going to be doing the NFL show, and I didn't at this point. So I find out about it. I go to the States, and luckily for me, Channel 5 picked up the NFL late night just at that point, so I started on 5, and that worked out great for everybody. When I came back, I just happened to bump into Kev not far from where we'd had lunch, and I was with this woman who I'd met on the train going up to Birmingham with Kev to do a Monarchs game when they were playing in Birmingham, and she was she just knew the story, so she was kind of being a little bit harsh to him and all. And Kev and I walked away, and I said, why didn't you tell me that? Well, I thought Charlie did, but Charlie was on holiday, it turned out. He said, well, I thought someone at Sky would do it, and I figured you knew. And he said, I just thought you were being so polite, and you didn't want to bring it up. I just thought, what a guy you are. I said, how can you hate a guy like that? What could you say bad about that? It didn't interfere with our friendship one way, in the least.
The thing about Kevin also was he was incredibly talented, not just presenting. But you look at his career as a whole. He played basketball for Penn State. Now I didn't realise this. I mean, I've known Kevin for a while, through journalistic stuff, and always been late with his copy, which was fine. But that was Kev. But he was always very polite about it. But he played basketball for Penn State, which I was unaware of. He was also, the greatest coach that British basketball's ever seen. He won
most successful. Yeah. British teams were playing in Europe.
Somebody told me yesterday who knew his career. In his tenure, he went for 15 trophies and won 14 of them.
Yeah.
You're not fluking that.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this too. because a lot of the qualities that we bring up about Kev were what made him a good coach. Part of it was the positivity. Part of it was the honesty. When he motivated teams, they got motivated. And he was tactically no slouch either. He knew that he could see the big picture. When he was coaching English teams, for example, and they were playing in Europe, you're at a huge disadvantage because you don't have any money, you can't attract the best players and stuff. But he knew what those things were, and he could play on that. And they got a couple of wins against teams they had no business beating, when they qualified for Europe. But he was even a ball boy. When the Buffalo Braves had a team in the NBA, Kev was the ball boy for the Braves.
Wow.
And we used to talk about that because he grew up in the era. I played in high school against Calvin Murphy, for example, who was an NBA great. Murphy went to Niagara College, so Kev, when he was probably in high school, was watching Calvin Murphy play in college. And he had Murphy stories, I had Murph stories, and it was great.
But 5 British domestic titles and something 30 titles overall. Won 5 British. The coaching career really helped his journalistic and his broadcasting career.
Well, that's how he got in.
Learner,
that's how he got in with Sky. Originally, it was via basketball and Sky's
as a
interest.
pundit.
Yeah, and he was good. I mean, like I said, my favorite work with Kev for a couple of years, we did Showtime, which was a satellite channel out of the Gulf with offices in London, and we did EuroLeague basketball. So Kev and I would each do a game each week on our own. And then when the Final Four took place, we would do them together, and I would do play-by-play off-tube from the studio, and Kev would do the color. And that was great because, like I said, he had a good tactical mind. So all you had to do was pick up what was going on, ask him a question, and you got really good responses, which was, of course, the opposite of our normal roles, where Kev would be asking me questions and cadling you, by telling you, he would ask one question and ask you something else. And the 2 years that we did those together, I kept trying to cadle him, and I was never able to do it.
It's impossible.
It's a good point you made earlier. You just said he was a quick learner, and that's something I noticed myself, because the first year that he came in to do the NFL at Sky was '98, and I'd been kind of there for a couple of years, so I kind of knew my role at that point. Kev was new to TV presenting, which is a skill you learn. You don't just walk in and do it. Nobody does. He was also pretty new to American football, let's be honest. His background was basketball. So he had 2 things going against him. Not only did he have to learn the technique of being a television presenter, he had to learn the sport he was covering, because he didn't know it as well as he could, because he'd not needed to. But all I saw from Kev, from the very first day, I was very, very conscious of 2 things. Number one, he was a great team player. No ego, no attitude, and that goes back to this coaching and all the rest of it. But 2, boy, did he work his socks off. His research was ridiculous. And the early days, it actually could count against you, because American football is so stat-based. Kev would have every stat, and some of those stats didn't mean a damn thing. And so Kev would throw a stat out at you and go, well, how about this thing? This is the 4th best team in the AFC on second down conversions. And you go, well, yeah, I don't know if it didn't mean anything really. So you sort of have to worm your way out of that. But my point was, he thoroughly researched everything so much that's what made him become very, very authoritative on American football very, very quickly.
And plus, he got the idea that he was there. Most of broadcasters use a British host with Americans because they want the audience to be able to identify with someone. And Kevin got the idea very quickly that he was there for the audience to identify. So he really was presenting himself as a big fan of the game right from the start. And I don't know how many people have responded to me this week, saying what we liked about Kev. He was the fans guy. He was the fan there, and he was brilliant at it.
Kev did not bring you into the studio. Kev went through the TV screen into your living room.
Yes.
That's what he did.
To be fair to you guys, I think that's what I'm saying about the cornerstones at the start of the program. The cornerstones are you guys. There were 3 of you: Carlson, Halling, and Kev. And that's what I think now part of this show is trying to recreate. A little bit of fun, a little bit of laughter, get to learn the game without being talked down to. And I think that's what the SportsHeads is all about, and that's what we're going to contrive to continue to do.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a somber day. We are reminiscing about Kevin, as it's right, and everything is still very raw. But we will have that bit of fun. We will have that bit of laughter. And the one thing I do remember about Kevin was just his ability to make you laugh just by looking at you, giving you a look.
Yeah,
It's
after
just like,
he cabled
what are you
you
talking about? He's right.
We were doing End Zone. Kevin, me, and Gia Milinovich. It was a magazine show, and we were taping it on a Friday. And the director, I butt in. I interject. I give
Which
responses.
people will be very surprised to hear in this news.
I know it strikes you as being odd, but and so I said something and we all laughed, and Kevin's moving on, and all of a sudden the director comes in and says, "Can you guys do that again?" I said, "What?" And so, well, I didn't get a close up of Gia laughing. So, but it's not going to be the same, it won't be spontaneous when we do it again. But we did it again; it wasn't spontaneous. So. A couple of minutes later, we do it again. The same thing. I make someone laugh and get cut. I got to get Gia again. So now I'm getting a bit. I said, look, don't you understand that it's spontaneity that makes the show flow?
That's what it is.
No, we'll do it again. When it happened a third time, I lost my nut. I said, look, you've got 4 cameras and there's only 3 of us. Why can't you just get the shot you need when we say it? I said, I might as well just shut up. I won't say anything, and then you won't have a problem. And Kevin just goes to Gia. He goes, "Oh, it's an easier solution. You just laugh every time he talks."
Tell me about being cadled. I mean, I was cadled last week, but and I'll tell you about it.
It's quite simple. He would tell you that coming out of the break, he was going to ask you about the London Monarchs defense. And when you came out of the break, he would say, well, who's the best receiver for the Amsterdam Admirals? And you prepare yourself for the question because you've got like 25 seconds or whatever. You want to make 2 points. So it's there in your head. And then when you're wrong-footed, it's like what he wanted you to do was kind of but on the side.
Exactly.
And while you were doing it, while you were answering him, he was sitting there looking the way you're looking right now, with that grin, the sly grin on his face.
I would never have it because I knew what he was like and I wasn't going to have it. And I remember we did, we had to do a quick injury update on a game, and I think it was Dallas against Phoenix or Arizona, whatever they were at the time. And Deion Sanders was a doubt for the game for the Cowboys. Reggie Sanders was a doubt for the Cardinals. And the latest updates came in, and Deion Sanders had passed he was in. Reggie Sanders was not going to play, so I'm telling Kev this, and obviously that, that's going through. And I said, so anyway, Kev, there we go. There's the news. I got Reggie Sanders is in, Deion Sanders is out, but no word on Colonel Sanders. And he looked at me like, who? And I realised I had to go. I got you there. But the trouble was, you could get away with that in the early years because he was still I'm a TV guy. I've got to be the presenter. But once he started to relax, I would zing him. And he'd just be zing it back. It'd be like throwing him a fastball and the damn thing's going out of the pit.
And he would hold off on the cadling as he went on. As you went on, he would do it less and less.
But it would be a home run when he did it.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd choose.
Into a full sense of
strangely enough,
he did,
when on Monday when I found out he died, I called the NFL office in London and told Dave Tossell and said, look, I'd like to write something for the website. And he said, yeah, I'll let you know when we're going to put something up. So I did. And I wrote it, and I sent it to him, and I put it up online. And I had just finished that, and I was thinking on the side, and then I checked my email, and there was an email from LinkedIn, and it said Kevin Cadle would like to connect with you on. And I went, he cadled me. He's gone, and he cadled me.
Incredible.
It was great. It was a happy moment. To be honest.
What was your favourite Kev moment?
I loved the fact that Kev came from Buffalo and couldn't get out of there fast enough. And Kev hated cold weather. Kev could not do cold weather. Now, from the early years, for whatever reason, I never understood this, Super Bowl time would come around, I would get sent out to the Super Bowl, Kev would have to stay at home in the studio. I wasn't complaining, I was happy enough with that. It wasn't very fair on Kev, but it was okay for me. And the first year that they decided, right, Kev can come to the Super Bowl, I forget what number it was, but it was that first one in Atlanta. You might have been there, I'm not sure. And Atlanta had about the coldest snap at the end of January that I think it had ever had. I remember getting out of the airport and looking at these icicles that were like stuff out of those Disney movies, frozen. And I was thinking, and as soon as you take a breath, everything's coming out. And I thought, Kev's coming in tomorrow. He is not going to like this. And the first thing we had to do, we had to go out and film some links outside. And of course, Kev, he can't speak, it's so cold. And he's going, he's got this link to do, and he just keeps breaking down because he can't, his tongue isn't working, it's stuck somewhere, and in the end, and I'm freezing as well, and in the end he'd blown this thing for about the 10th time, and I just went, Kev, and he just went, hey man, it's cool, and I wasn't even cross, it was just like, Kev, get the damn thing out, and he's going, I know man, I know, but he was just hating this cold weather, and I was always saying to him, let's go to a football game, real football, proper football. He said, yeah, okay man, that's cool. I said, you got anything in August? I never ever got Kev down to Southampton. That was my ambition, to get him down there. He said, yeah, I'll go in July, August, but that's it.
He got out of Buffalo, he's going to go to Southampton.
He would not,
there's a reason he got out of Buffalo.
I'm actually convinced, I'm personally convinced he was not a Buffalo Bills fan, actually, deep down. We kind of forced that on him, because the Bills were so crap in all those years that he was there. We wanted him to have a dump team that he was stuck with, and he knew that, and he kind of embraced it and took it on.
He's such a gracious guy, he probably
he would, he'd just
that
go with it.
I
don't think he cared less about the Buffalo Bills deep down, if you ask him. But he knew he'd been saddled with it, and he just had to take it. And I loved that, my team was the Steelers, and it seemed every year that Kev and I worked together, the Bills would be 4-12 and out of playoff contention by the second week of September, and the Steelers would be 10-6. And I'd be sitting there saying, "How's your team going?"
It was a running joke, but it worked
endlessly.
He was supposed to do the game on TalkSport last Sunday with Nat and I, and I got a text from him on Sunday morning saying he wasn't well and he couldn't do it, and you send back the kind of man up text, and but so the last time I saw Kev was here 2 weeks ago. We did SportsHeads, and afterwards we left and we were walking out together and going to the Tube, and I was going over to BBC to record something, and Kev was going down to Victoria to do something else. And I said, it's really great, working together again. I really miss that. It's great. And Kev said, what's better than working together? I said, what? He said, we're working.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right about that.
That's very true.
You're right about that.
You say the same thing. I've sort of been out of work for a little while in the summer and got a bit low about it. And saw Kev used to post these inspirational messages on Facebook every Monday, the Monday motivation. And I'd sort of thought, this is really good, and it really helped. I was looking at these things thinking, it's the positivity thing again. And then I was down, and he gave me a call, said, come and do the SportsHeads, come and have a chat, and just we'll see where we can take this thing, because it's my little baby and I'd like it to grow, and I think, we work well together. And that gave me the lift that I probably needed. And last Wednesday, after we did the SportsHeads show, after I'd been Cadle, no less, in the show, which luckily was cut, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. We went to the Shard and we sat down, had a cup of coffee, and he had a cup of tea, and I just said, Kev, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for getting me out of my slump, out of this mental place I was in. And he just, as typical Kev, shakes you by the hand, goes, my man, gives you the hug, don't think nothing of it, And that's, I was just so lucky to have said thank you. Something compelled me to do that. It's and that was the kind of guy he was. He would help anybody.
He was one of those guys, that if you'd met him once, Kev was the kind of guy. If somebody asked for a selfie, an autograph, they got it, and it was natural for him. Me, I don't know how you are with it, Mike. I'm quite a private person. And whilst I recognised that if people did come up to me, it's because they like you and they like what you do, so you have to respond to them. But I was never comfortable with it. I always thought, this is a bit weird. Kev just found it so natural. He just, because that's what he was. He'll be friends with anybody. Anybody who's ever met Kev once will just have that image of him. What a great guy. And that's what he was. He was just genuine.
I took my son to the Shard to meet him because he's not a great football fan. He likes Seattle. He's a bit of a glory boy. He got into it when Seattle started doing well. And exactly. It's like every kid when I was growing up was a Liverpool fan. Don't like them either. But he came up to the Shard and met Kev, and Kev gave him a hug and a handshake and everything else. And he was as gutted as anybody when he heard the news, because he was Kev's friend as far as that was concerned. And Kev.
And it ties in with Kev's other career, which we haven't actually mentioned, but as a motivational speaker, which was he was very successful at, and going into
surprise.
You think about it, and you go into corporations and things like that, and provide motivational speaking, and it wasn't necessarily, because I don't know what the the content or quality of the message was, in any great detail, but it was the personality was what Kev was saying. It was what made him a good coach. It goes back to that same kind of thing, motivation, using talent for its best thing. And he had a great perception of that and a great ability to convey that his personality outward to these people, and that's what impressed them. It wasn't quite the professorial thing he was saying; it was the force of personality.
I never saw what would have been necessary for him in his coaching career. It must have happened only 2 or 3 times. Kev and I, in 13 years, we never had a bad word. We never had in our business, you will get little flare-ups, and then it's gone. Somebody says sorry, usually Mike, and it's done and forgotten. I never had one flare-up with Kev, not one. I mean, literally not one. Really, and in the 13 years that we worked together on Sky, everybody, it's a collaborative business. You might be the guy that's out there, but boy, everybody's important. And he recognised the importance of the team. And in those 13 years, 2, maybe 3 times, I saw him just issue a message through his microphone to the guys in the gallery. You guys better get your game together here, because if they're not right, we're hung out to dry. Right. And very, very rarely. But I tell you, those couple of times, 3 times maybe, boy, everyone got the message. It focused everybody very, very quickly, because if it's coming from him.
And you can see it's the coaching thing in him as well.
He had to have had to do that as a coach from time to time. Yeah. Every coach does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's.
Did you know he must have been an amateur boxer? Did you know that?
No.
He must have been, because the funniest thing I've ever seen on television was back in the end zone.
It was
days.
an end zone shot. I know what you're saying.
Somebody, these guys used to go off and do these features. I was different. I was doing the commentary, and I was on a different rotation to them. They had the fun making these end zone features.
We'd go down. We get one player. We do something crazy.
Something different. He'd go 10-pin bowling. They'd go sightseeing. They had down a river. Whatever. And Kev interviewed a big German defensive end called Frank Messmer of the Frankfurt Galaxy. Now, Frank would not have had height on Kev, but Frank would have had about width between the 3 of us, and Frank was a damn sight bigger than Kev. And because Kev had obviously had this amateur boxing background, he must have done. Frank had an amateur boxing background, and the producer, God knows who it was. I mean, you'd never get away with it now. Never get away with it now. So it'd be a good idea to have you guys sparring. So they put the 2 of them in the ring together, and the funniest thing happened, because Kev, I mean, you can see in the video, Kev can move a little bit, so he's done some kind of boxing training to some level, because you don't just go in there and just start. And anyway, nobody's doing anything. Frank's taking it nice and easy. Nobody's trying to land a punch. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Kev just pops his left hook on Frank Messmer. And I just saw that. And in the space of the next 2 seconds, there was a pause from Frank Messmer, a sort of laugh coming from Frank. Then his whole body changed. It's like, oh, we're going for real now, are we? And Kev reacting like, oh, now I'm in real big trouble here. And he just grabbed him, hugged him, and hey man, and started laughing, and just diffused the whole situation. And I remember saying to Kev, I said, what on earth? I asked you to do that. He said, he'd killed you. He said, I know, man. He said, I just saw the shot and I couldn't. He said, as soon as I was throwing it, I thought, I can't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. But he got out of it. I mean, listen, if Frank had landed 1 shot on Kev, that would have been the end of the filming right there. But I tell you, wherever that footage is, dig that out, because that was Kev at his funniest, because he was just like, hey man, hugging Frank, and even Frank realised, okay, I'll let that go.
It was just his warmth and personality, as you say, who used to come into our living rooms every Sunday night with you guys, and that's what him alone, I'd say, and the Sky team as it was. Made American football in the UK. I mean, however many games they bring over and everything else, it would always have grown exponentially, but simply because of Kevin's warmth and love.
I was feeling down on Monday, and then someone put up a picture of Kevin and Cecil with the Thanksgiving turkey.
That set you off, didn't it?
And I burst into laughter, and then burst into tears afterwards. Yeah. But that gimmick was so corny. But it was fantastic, and it got better each year. The more ridiculous it got, the better. To the point where Cecil would be carving, and the juice would be spurting over Kevin's tie.
When I was there, I had to carve the damn thing. Kev was terrible, because this is like a 20-pound turkey, and the heat coming out of this thing when you cut it, there's sweat going. I'm carving it, and Kev would be sitting there. This is when we're off camera. We've gone back to the game. Kev would be sitting there. I'm carving this damn thing for the whole crew.
You just
And
beat it.
Kev's going, hey, give me a bit more. I'm like, what am I, a waiter? You know, hey, a bit more. You know, sweat going and yeah, but
Then you'd come back on camera and he'd go, oh no, none for me.
yeah, not for me. Yeah. No. I'm a professional. I'm a broadcast professional. I don't eat on the set. Yeah, the rest of us, you know, we've got gravy dripping down our mouths. You know. Yeah, Kevin had his. Yeah.
He was certainly one of a kind.
But yeah, you can't. You know, I mean, you know, when I heard the news, and it's been lovely to see everybody's reaction. And I think NFL London are doing a really lovely thing to do that tribute for him at Twickenham, and I know Sky are doing something, and obviously, you know, you guys are doing something. And thank you for inviting me to be part of it as well. But Kev, you know, I'm not gonna fill up. I promised myself I won't fill up because Kev would be going, hey man, if I did. But he was my best mate. One of my best mates. One of my, you know. Just a guy that just made me feel better. You know, I don't care if he was the worst television presenter or he knew nothing about American football. It was just a privilege to have met him and known him just as a human being. He was a one of a kind, and I'd have said that if he was sat here right now.
Yeah. I remember when he came to my wedding, and as he was leaving, you know, said, "Thanks for coming." I said, "About time." That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
We all remember him with great fondness, with great warmth, and there'll never be another like Kevin Cadle, that's for sure. We're going to leave you now with some of his thoughts. God bless you, Kev.
Time is not our friend. Time is definitely clicking away every second. We have that much less time to do what we say we're going to do. Like, do it now. You want to write the book? Write the book. You want to sing the song? Sing the song. You want to tell someone that you love them? Go tell them that you love them. You want to tell someone that I'm sorry? Well, tell them that you're sorry. Time is not waiting on anyone. And the thing is that you need to make sure is that when your clock strikes, that your time runs out, that you can say, I have no more bullets left in the gun, that I've done everything that I wanted to do. I wanted to take that trip. I wanted to go around the world. I wanted to visit somebody. I wanted to write that letter. Whatever it is, do it now. Get it done. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Time does not wait for anyone.